So welcome. This is Art and Grail Studios, and I'm Lord Inokia. And today we're going to be recording a black metal song, mainly showing you what I did when I recorded a black metal song specifically for this tutorial video. Um, this black metal song is in the vein of my band Casm or any other external influences like Winder or Within Thy Wounds or Vials of Wrath. Um, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Um, Start off by saying I record all my music to a click track. What I usually do um, is I'll map out the MIDI for the drums. See here, I have the MIDI for the drums here um, using Easy Drummer 3. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, and then what I'll do, I'll write the entire song to a scratch track, which is right here. Um, this track right here is a scratch track. Um, and then I'll render the click track to its own track, and then I'll make a MIDI um, track, which is called tempo, and um, export. I'll be exporting this um, to keep all the markers that I put in the session, all the tempo changes and everything will be embedded in the mid file. When anybody else wants to import it into their own projects, it'll be on time. So um, let me go ahead and start off with the scratch track actually. So what I usually do is I'll write the drums alongside a scratch track that I make, to general mapping of the song and how I want it to be. Um, After I'm done um, writing the MIDI, I'll merge the MIDI and kind of seal it for a minute. And then I'll go up here. Here in Studio One and in Fender Studio Pro, they have something called an arranger track. And this is where I usually um, do most of my work. I'll uh, arrange the song or rearrange the song depending on length or how long it's going to take the song to start and end. Or if I feel a part should be there twice or not be there at all, I'll use this arranger track along with the scratch track and the MIDI that I made. And then once I'm done arranging it, I'll uh, merge the MIDI again and then bounce down the MIDI to each individual track um, here. Um, so um, let's go ahead after explaining to you that I record to track. We'll go ahead and start with the MIDI drums. So for the drums, um, I use Easy Drummer 3, and I use the Into the Dark Easy X. Um, Looks like this, and pretty much just change the drums according to um, how I feel they should sound for the mix. Pretty much kept everything the same except the toms and the snare. Um, and also for the toms, I lowered the tuning. Um, I don't think I did that for the snare, but I know I did that for the cymbals, lowered the tuning of the cymbals. Um, and yeah, so um, I lowered the tuning of the cymbals and I lowered the tuning of the toms to give them more of a low gravity type of sound. I like that when the drums sound tuned lower for some reason. It just makes me want to play harder. For the mixer, I use the original mix preset right here to make all the shells have their own individual tracks. For the kick in and kick out, I map them to their own track. For the snare top, both one and two, I map it to a track, and then for the snare bottom, I map it to a different track. the hi-hats to a different track, each tom to its own track. I do that so that when I mix, I can bust the toms, but also work with them individually. Um, Same with the overheads, in the rooms. But the stereo rooms I map to a track, and then the stereo or the mono room I map to its own track. Just so I can have stereo room and mono room at a separate track. I don't use the one shots. I don't use the shaker, the tambourine, or the I bleed all the bleed at 100%. Um, so um, this is what they sound like um, after I mix them down to their individual tracks. So yeah, I don't do any real trickery when recording music. Um, I usually just keep everything as zero except the buses. When I go to track vocals, I'll produce the buses of all the instrument tracks um, so that I can hear the vocals over all the instruments. Um, that's it for drums. I just uh, put everything to its own individual track here, and then I'll uh, create audio tracks and then print them onto the audio track. Um, for guitars, though, I do something a little bit more complex. Um, I'm using the Archetype Nolly X plugin by Neural DSP. You should go check it out. Um, I have links to that in the description. Um, And for this, I used actually, I have to thank Chernobyl Audio, Scott from Chernobyl Studios. He made Atmospheric Black Metal Pack, and I have the Volume 2 Chernobyl Audio Black Atmospheric Black Metal Pack, and it comes with a bunch of atmospheric black metal presets for the Nolly X, the Plenty X, and I think the Gojira X. But I made my own tweaks um, just to the post effects, not necessarily to the amps or anything. I added delay and I added reverb to all the tracks that I use. I use a separate tone. Each of these are an individual tone um, from one of the presets. Uh, Rhythm 1 and 2, 3 and 4, Lead 1 and 2, Clean 1, and Solo 1 and 2 are all individual presets from the Chernobyl Audio Atmospheric Black Metal Volume 2 pack. I just add and tweak the delay and the reverb to my own personal liking. I don't really change anything um, except uh, uh, the clean tone. I change one of the over to clean amp over to this one. Other than that, I don't really do too much. Um, for tracking, I'll track them all down the center. Um, but when I go to record vocals, as you can see, they're panned. I'll pan them so I can hear them within the vocals. And this is what they sound like. So that's it for the guitars. Um, Everything in this video is going to be pretty simply explained. Um, no tricks, just simple recording techniques. Um, so for the bass, um, let's go over here. Um, I use bass volume 1 by Nalix for both the high and low of the bass. And these are the settings here. All I do is reduce a little bit of reverb, increase a little bit of bass, and increase the gain a little bit. I don't use the ultra low, but I use the ultra high on bass 1, and the input is at 0. Um, and that's a clean tone. This bass VST actually is a great clean tone for bass. Very simple and it's free. Um, for bass low though, I use a chorus and with the depth pretty high to give it more of like a psychedelic type of atmospheric type of sound to it. And I add the reverb for the bass when I go to mix it. I don't do that in the recording process. There's no real need to. Um, Same settings as bass high, except I don't use the ultra high, I use the ultra low. Um, Increase the master a little bit, I think. But other than that, the bass is pretty simple. I really don't do too much. I just make a high and low bass and leave it at that. And this is what they sound like. So that's it for the bass. Um, for the synths, I use the Triton Extreme plugin by Korg. Um, Pretty simple. I use a simple choir preset, and then I use like a lead saw type of synth preset. Nothing tricky. Just kind of like a pad or like a choir type of pad, and then a lead for the chorus. You'll hear that in the next video. When I go to mix it, you'll hear the lead part in the chorus. Um, Keep everything simple. I just use some of the attack and the sustain in each of these, so it doesn't sound so like slow to react. But it's pretty simple. I just maxed out the master because this plugin is actually sounds pretty low on volume, but it's a great plugin. Go out and buy it. It's the Korg Triton uh, Extreme plugin. It's good. And this is what they sound like. I think the lead might kick in here too, if I'm at the right part of the song. And that's for the sense, just like I said, a pad and a lead. Nothing too complicated. But also the vocals. This is the most complex part of the process actually, because I make an entire vocal chain, and then I print that vocal chain, and then I make uh, FX chain to go with the vocal chain um, that I made during tracking, and then I print the bus of the two together. So there's two vocal tracks. The Lord main Vox one right here. This one uh, would be considered the dry or DI, if you will, but it's not really truly DI because I keep all the processing that I use in the chain. And then the wet would be the Lord Vox one um, with all the reverb and the ducking delay and all that. And I print that too and put that in the wet folder. So what I usually use is a gate um, to gate out any type of noise or anything in the background. Um, a compressor, pretty simple. Um, for the EQ, I just kind of embolden um, any of the frequencies where I feel like are percussive. It will make the vocals sound a little bit more thick, adding a little bit of air um, at around 8.9K. Um, I also add a little bit of saturation to make the vocals kind of like sharp. You'll hear that when I go to play it. It sounds like distorted vocals, and I like that printed on my track. When I go to send this to other people, I don't want them to have to uh, constantly ask me what do I want the vocals to sound like or what do I want the guitars to sound like. I already want everything that I want the guitars, bass, vocals, drums to sound like. I will print onto the tracks and put them in the wet folder, um, so that there's no hassle. And I also include a README with that, so they know that everything is supposed to be that way. Um, Follow that up with a noise katana just to get rid of any extra noise from the saturation, and then a limiter. Um, and then for the actual um, effects channel, um, I use a Valhalla frequency echo. Um, I use a compressor to duck. It's a ducking compressor to duck the um, delay, and then that goes into a reverb using one of my presets, Valhalla, Valhalla Room. I'm using Valhalla Room, but the vocal preset is one of my presets that I use on just about all vocals for all my projects, and the noise katana to get rid of all the buzz and the noise from all the effects being on. And I do that across all the tracks. All the tracks. The first two tracks, Lord Main Vox 1 and Lord Main Vox 2, have distortion, um, but the Lord background vocals has more of like a telephone type of uh, EQ style to it. Like I said, I use a telephone preset here in Studio Pro um, to give it more of like a voiceover type of thing, but more like a telephone, like you're sounding on a telephone kind of thing. Um, and for the lower talking vocals, I use an EQ and a chorus to kind of make it sound more of like a closet or like a roomy type of sound. But I want it to be percussive and thick, so I add a little bit of low mid frequency at around 300 hertz. Usually people cut at 300, but I like to use 300. Um, and adding a little bit of highs to give it a little bit more pinch. And this is what they sound like. This is what the vocals sound like. Um, yep. So that's it for the vocals. I think I've covered just about everything. Like I said, I just record as I'm writing the drums, and then like I said, I record to a scratch track as I'm writing the drums, and then I'll go back and track everything that I want to finalize after making some arrangements. Um, I use tracking three to kind of hear the guitar tone and get the vibe. I like to make an effects chain when I record, usually whether having a guitar effects or bass effects or the drums being kind of like mixed, although they're not mixed in this session. Give it more of a vibe and effect. So when I record, I feel like I have fun, and the performance comes out as good as it's ever going to be. So this is what the song sounds like. Just unmixed, everything at zero, just about. Except the buses. Let me go ahead and mute these DI guitar tracks. We don't need these. But I'll let you hear it. What it sounds like. Um, hold on. Um, so yeah, um, that's about it. I don't really know what else to talk about. Um, I just record the songs, and I think things will make a little bit more sense when you watch the next video. If you tune in this long, um, make sure you watch the next video where I go to mix the song. And I just basically mix it beforehand, and I'm gonna be making an overview on how each part of the process from the master chain all the way down to each individual track, how I mix the song, and make it sound more coherent. If it doesn't make any sense now, it'll make sense in the next video. Um, Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll be leaving links to Chernobyl Audio's website and Chernobyl Audio's um, Atmospheric Black Metal um, Volume 2 uh, uh, preset pack that I use for Nolly X um, in the description. I'll have links to all the bands that I'm in the description. And I also have links to my Fiverr profile if you're interested in me mixing your music for very cheap. I mean, very cheap. Not expensive at all. I enjoy taking on new projects and just helping somebody out um, that wants music mixed by somebody who loves to do it but doesn't want to pay an arm and a leg kind of thing. Um, also be my Fiverr profile. Um, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. That's all I really have to talk about when it comes to recording. Nothing tricky, nothing in depth really. Um, but if you like what you have heard and like what you have seen, check out the links. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can make more videos like this for you people to understand atmospheric black metal mixing for somebody who's an atmospheric black metal musician. I also do doom, um, metal, and rock mixing. I will be doing some of those soon too. But mostly I do atmospheric and black metal and raw black metal, war metal, any black metal subgenre. I usually mix for those specifically. Every now and then I'll do a doom project for somebody or a stoner rock project. You can come to me with those too if you are a part of any of that. But if you like atmospheric black metal, if you like or love black metal in general, just check out my Fiverr profile. Listen to some of the samples. Read what I have on there, and see if you want to toss your project over to me. I'd love to work on it for you. And like I said, I don't charge an arm and a leg. So that'll be all. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next video when I go to mix and master this. Um, I'll be doing a video on mixing it, and I'll be doing a video on mastering it. Two separate videos. So make sure you check that out. Thank you, and guys, have a great day.